Good evening. My name is Mike Fishkin. This is Truth Seekers. If you haven't seen us before, we are about discussion of evidences for spiritual and philosophical truth. We know that there is truth out there, and there's a basic answer for all of us. We think we have that major answer. You know, some little side pockets of information could be filled in here and there. However, we've been talking about this for 6 years, and we're going to continue to talk every other week for the next few months anyhow, Jay. Live, and when we're not live, there's always a program on of one of our former shows in the past. We always show film clips, virtually always, unless we get a slew of phone calls and don't get a chance to show any film. And we're going to continue tonight on the same subject we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It's from a video called Was Darwin Right? The guy doing the speaking has a PhD in geology from England, and we don't think Darwin is right. We think the evidence is very strong against him being right. In fact, he said if 3 things happen, any one of them happens, you can throw my theory out, and all 3 have happened. We've talked about those things in the past. We can mention them again today later if you like. Anything relating to spiritual and philosophical truth-seeking is welcome on this program in terms of phone calls. And so it's the 25th of July, 2009. So if you're watching tonight, Saturday night, 2009, 25th of July. We're almost at August, 2009. So if you're watching, Saturday night, you can call us if you want.
What's the date, Mike?
July 25th.
Today's the 25th?
No, the 18th. You're right. That's right. I'm thinking, yeah, I do that sometimes.
He's over 60. I'm over 50, so you can call us Laurel and Hardy sometimes because that's about the way our brain works. But
well, in any case, yeah, I was thinking next week I was preparing some things, but the 18th is tonight, yes. Middle, kind of just past the middle of July. So rewind that and call us if you're on the 18th. If you're on the 25th, you're in another dimension, and we wouldn't hear you anyhow.
The same dimension he's in.
Maybe, maybe. But we're going to show a 7-minute clip, as we usually do, and then we're going to come back and talk to you guys after that and take calls after that, unless we get a call immediately. Let's see. Non-material reality. And talking about information in the DNA, it kind of proves that all of science is basically astray in the fact that they think that all of reality is made up of essentially matter and energy. But information can basically be proven to be a non-material reality, whereas energy is something different than information, and matter is something different than information. We'll talk about that more after this section of film. But let's show this first 7 minutes that kind of sets the stage, and then we'll be back. Let me just add, though, that, well, he's going to mention what we saw the last couple of weeks that we were on live. So I'll let him do it, and I was going to kind of rehash that, but I don't have to. So we'll see you in 7 minutes, so let's run that, guys.
Okay, in our last session, we began to discuss the question of the origin of species. Was Darwin right? And we came to 2 conclusions from looking at the question of the origin of life itself from non-living matter and then the fossil evidence. And we saw that the evolutionists have no idea how the first living cell came into existence by chance. And secondly, we spent more time discussing the fossil record and showed that the evolutionists have no indisputable fossil evidence that one kind of creature changed into a different kind of creature. So in this last part of this lecture, we want to look at the question, does the study of living creatures support evolution or the creation model of the forest of life? And again, I want to draw your attention to 2 key questions. One is, how did the DNA information for the first supposed living microscopic creature come into existence? And secondly, how did that DNA information in that simple creature get changed and augmented to produce all the different kinds of plants and animals that we see in the fossil record and living world today? Now, I'm quite confident in saying that there is not an evolutionist on the face of this earth who would walk up to this scene on the beach of Florida and say, "Isn't it amazing what the ocean washed up on the shore last night?" They would never say that. They would know instantly, instinctively, this was the product of intelligence. A clever person put those sand grains together. You see, information is conveyed through that sandcastle, and information comes from a mind. Werner Giet is a German scientist. He is the director and professor at the German Federal Institute of Physics and Technology in Germany, and he is an expert on information theory. And in his book, In the Beginning Was Information, he said this: "There is no known law of nature, no known process, and no known sequence of events which can cause information to originate by itself in matter." The information that you see on that screen right now does not come from the light particles or light beams shining on that screen. They don't come from the pixels or whatever else it is that is causing that on my computer screen. It doesn't come from the electronics. It doesn't come from the keys. The information didn't come from my fingers. It came from my mind as I was reading Werner Giet's book. And the book, it was not the ink and the paper that produced the information. It was Werner Giet's mind. Information always comes from mind. It does not come from matter. And we know this without even thinking about it. We see things like the space shuttle or telephone or motorcycles or computers, and we know these did not come into existence except as a result of a great quantity of intellectual activity. In fact, those things were made by engineers who left nothing to chance. They planned everything in the manufacturing process as well as the end result. But those things are simple compared to the simplest living creatures. This is a microscopic insect called the midge. And look at the complexity of its eyes and those hair-like structures and the mouth structure. This is not a simple creature. We might say it's simple compared to human beings, but it is not simple. It is more complex than even a Boeing 747. Now, the question for evolution is, where do you get the information to make such things? And the evolutionists have two mechanisms for their theory of evolution. They are, one, natural selection, and two, random mutations. Let's consider each of these concepts in order. Both of these ideas are based on the DNA information in living things. Now, the DNA molecule is a very, very complex molecule made of chemicals that contain or carry a language. And this language is made up of 4 chemical letters, like the letters of our alphabet. You might compare it to a rope with beads and rods. You could spell the word help if you knew Morse codes with beads and rods. Well, the DNA molecule is carrying the information in the way that that rope is carrying the information. And now, you all know what DNA stands for. It stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. But that's way too hard to remember. There's a much easier way to remember what DNA stands for. It means definitely no accident. Because information does not come into existence by accident. It comes into existence because of a thoughtful mind. Now, if you were to pack enough DNA to fill the head of a pin, the amount of information that little bit of DNA would carry would be equivalent to a stack of books from the earth to the moon 240 times. Or equivalent to a stack of CDs flat 110 kilometers high. Richard Dawkins, the atheist evolutionist in Britain, a leading evolutionist at Oxford University, says that the amount of DNA in every cell of your and my body is equivalent to 3 to 4 sets of the 20 volumes of the Encyclopedia Britannica. That is a lot of information. And that information determines whether you have big bones or small bones, whether you're female or male, whether you have blonde hair or brown hair, blue eyes or green eyes, and all the other features about your life. The DNA information is what determines whether the peas will be yellow or green or in between, whether they'll be wrinkled or smooth or in between. These were the kinds of peas that Gregor Mendel studied in his pea garden outside his little parish home in Czechoslovakia, right at the time that Darwin was publishing his theory. And he didn't know about the DNA, but he knew there was something inside the peas that was controlling the expression of color and texture.